Your true potential isn't out of reach, it's within you, waiting to be unlocked. Harness your inner drive, and success becomes inevitable. Hidden Potential: The Psychology of Unlocking Your Inner Drive for Success. Written by Siren Bellthorne and published by Listen, Grow, Sleep. Introduction: Beyond Boundaries. Have you ever wondered why some people seem naturally motivated while others struggle to find their drive? What makes the difference between someone who needs constant supervision and someone who takes initiative without being asked? Welcome to Hidden Potential: The Psychology of Unlocking Your Inner Drive for Success. I'm excited to take you on a journey to discover the psychology behind self-motivation and how you can tap into your own hidden potential. When I think about boundaries, I think of rules, regulations, and restrictions. I think about the parents, teachers, and supervisors who hold us accountable. That's not inherently bad. We all need some form of accountability to stay on track. But there's something more powerful beyond those boundaries. There are leaders, teachers, supervisors, and parents who inspire us to go beyond the call of duty, to do more than we have to, not because they tell us to, but because we want to. In this audiobook, we'll explore what research tells us about how to make that happen, not just for other people, but for yourself. We'll discover how to inspire self-motivation, how to feel truly empowered, and how to unlock the hidden potential that exists within all of us. The journey begins with understanding what true empowerment feels like and the psychological factors that create it. Let's dive in. Chapter 1: The 3 Questions of Empowerment. What does it mean to feel truly empowered? It's not what many management books define as empowerment. Get it done with fewer resources and less time. That's not empowerment. That's pressure. True empowerment is about feeling self-motivated, having that internal drive that pushes you forward even when no one is watching over your shoulder. Research shows that people who feel genuinely empowered share 3 common beliefs. If you can answer yes to these 3 questions, you'll experience that powerful sense of self-motivation that unlocks your hidden potential. The first question is simple but profound. Can you do it? Psychologist Albert Bandura calls this self-efficacy, the belief that you have the ability, time, knowledge, and training to accomplish what's being asked of you. Without this fundamental belief in your own capabilities, motivation withers before it can even take root. Think about times when you've been asked to do something you felt completely unprepared for. How motivated were you? Probably not very. That's because self-efficacy is the foundation of motivation. The second question builds on the first. Will it work? Bandura calls this response efficacy, the belief that the process or approach you're using will actually lead to the desired outcome. You might believe you can follow a process perfectly, but if you don't believe the process itself will work, your motivation will still suffer. This is where education becomes crucial. People need to understand why a particular approach works. They need to see the data, understand the theory, and believe in the methodology. Without this belief, even the most capable people will struggle to maintain their drive. The third question addresses perhaps the most fundamental aspect of human motivation. Is it worth it? This question is all about consequences. As B.F. Skinner taught us through his principle of selection by consequences, everything we do is because we want something for doing it. Dale Carnegie echoed this when he said that from the day we're born, everything we do is because we wanted something for doing it. When you believe the outcome is worth the effort, when the consequences are valuable to you, motivation flows naturally. Without this belief, even the most capable person working with the most effective process will struggle to find their drive. When you can answer yes to all 3 of these questions, something powerful happens. You feel competent at doing worthwhile work. And when you feel competent at doing worthwhile work, you're far more likely to be self-motivated. The challenge for leaders, teachers, parents, and even for ourselves is clear. How do we create conditions where these 3 questions can be answered affirmatively? For the first question, can you do it? We need to provide proper training, resources, and support. We need to build confidence through incremental successes and constructive feedback. For the second question, will it work? We need to educate, not just train. We need to explain the why behind the what, showing the evidence and reasoning that supports our approaches. And for the third question, is it worth it? We need to ensure that meaningful consequences are aligned with desired behaviors. We need to connect actions to outcomes that people genuinely value. As we continue our journey through this audiobook, we'll explore each of these elements in greater depth, starting with the crucial distinction between education and training. Chapter 2, Education versus Training. Understanding the difference. Is there a difference between education and training? In elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, we call it education. But when we enter the professional world, suddenly it becomes training. There must be a difference, right? The distinction becomes clear when we consider a humorous example. Would you want your children to receive sex education or sex training? The difference is immediately apparent. Training means you actually do the behavior and receive feedback. It's hands-on, practical, and focused on developing specific skills through practice and correction. Education, on the other hand, is about understanding concepts, theories, and the why behind the what. Both are essential for unlocking your hidden potential, but they serve different purposes and work in different ways. Consider the term online training. It's almost an oxymoron, isn't it? True training requires observation of behavior, feedback, and adjustment. Online training without these elements is like plastic silverware, jumbo shrimp, or a legal brief. The terms seem to contradict each other. To truly empower yourself or others, you need both education and training in the right balance. Education provides the understanding that makes the second question, will it work, answerable with a confident yes. Training builds the skills and confidence that make the first question, can you do it, answerable with an equally confident yes. Let me share a personal example that illustrates this distinction perfectly. When I was teaching a complex new procedure to my team, I started with education, explaining the research behind the approach, the principles that made it effective, and the results others had achieved with it. This helped them understand why the procedure would work. But understanding wasn't enough. We then moved to training, practicing the procedure in a controlled environment, receiving immediate feedback, making adjustments, and practicing again. This built their confidence in their ability to execute the procedure correctly. The combination of education and training created a team that not only knew how to follow the procedure, but also understood why each step mattered. When unexpected situations arose, they could adapt because they understood the principles, not just the steps. As you work to unlock your own hidden potential, ask yourself, am I balancing education and training in my development? Do I understand not just how to do things, but why they work? Do I practice with feedback, not just read or watch? The most self-motivated individuals are those who continuously seek both education and training. They understand the theories and principles that govern their field, and they practice the skills with deliberate attention to feedback and improvement. In the next chapter, we'll explore the third question of empowerment. Is it worth it? By diving deeper into the power of consequences and how they shape our motivation. Chapter 3, The Power of Consequences. Everything we do is driven by consequences. This isn't just an opinion, it's a fundamental principle of human behavior identified by B.F. Skinner as selection by consequences. From the moment we're born, our actions are shaped by what happens after we perform them. Understanding this principle is crucial for unlocking your hidden potential because it answers the third question of empowerment. Is it worth it? But not all consequences affect us the same way. There's a profound difference between working for pleasant consequences and working to avoid unpleasant ones. When you're working to gain something positive, recognition, achievement, growth, or reward, you feel self-motivated. The work feels good because you're moving towards something you desire. In contrast, when you're working to avoid something negative, criticism, punishment, failure, or loss, you feel controlled. The work feels burdensome because you're trying to escape something you fear. This distinction creates two fundamentally different motivational orientations. success seeking, and failure avoiding. Success seekers are driven by the possibility of achievement and growth. They say things like, I get to go to class, it's an opportunity, or I'm excited to tackle this challenge. They wake up to an opportunity clock, not an alarm clock. Failure avoiders, on the other hand, are driven by the fear of negative outcomes. They say things like, I've got to go to class, it's a requirement, or I need to finish this before I get in trouble. They're constantly looking over their shoulder, worried about what might go wrong. Research shows that about 80% of people operate primarily as failure avoiders. They're motivated, but not in a way that unlocks their full potential or brings them joy in their work. The challenge then is to shift from being a failure avoider to a success seeker, to reorient your relationship with consequences so that you're pulled forward by positive possibilities rather than pushed by negative pressures. This shift begins with how you communicate, both to others and to yourself. It's about changing your paradigm, your way of seeing the world, and your place in it. Instead of saying, I have to, say, I get to. Instead of focusing on what might go wrong, focus on what could go right. Instead of seeing requirements, see opportunities. This isn't just positive thinking, it's a fundamental reorientation of how you relate to consequences. It's about training yourself to be motivated by what you can gain rather than what you might lose. Leaders, teachers, and parents can foster this orientation by emphasizing positive consequences rather than threatening negative ones. Instead of saying, if you don't study, you'll fail, they might say, when you study effectively, you'll understand concepts that can change how you see the world. The power of consequences extends beyond individual motivation to shape organizational cultures. Workplaces dominated by fear of failure create very different environments than those energized by the pursuit of success. As you work to unlock your hidden potential, pay attention to the consequences that drive you. Are you primarily motivated by what you might gain or by what you might lose? Are you running towards something or away from something? By consciously shifting toward a success-seeking orientation, you'll not only feel more self-motivated, but also experience greater joy and fulfillment in your pursuits. In the next chapter, we'll explore another crucial element of self-motivation, the power of choice and autonomy. Chapter 4, the psychology of choice. When you perceive choice, you perceive motivation. This simple but powerful insight from psychologist Ellen Langer captures another essential element of self-motivation: autonomy. Your common sense will tell you that when you believe you have a sense of choice in what you're doing, you feel more self-motivated. Research confirms this intuition. Autonomy is one of the most powerful drivers of human motivation. Think about the difference between these two statements. I have to complete this project by Friday. I choose to complete this project by Friday. The first statement feels heavy, burdensome, and externally imposed. The second feels empowering, intentional, and internally driven, even though the actual task is identical. This is the psychology of choice at work. When you perceive yourself as having autonomy, as being the author of your own actions rather than merely following orders, your motivation and engagement naturally increase. But here's the fascinating part. Objective freedom is less important than perceived freedom. You can feel autonomous even in situations with significant constraints, as long as you focus on the choices you do have rather than the ones you don't. For example, you might not choose whether to pay taxes, but you can choose your attitude toward paying them. You might not choose all your work assignments, but you can choose how you approach them. You might not choose all life circumstances, but you can choose your response to them. By mindfully focusing on the choices you do have, even small ones, you can dramatically increase your sense of autonomy and consequently your motivation. Leaders, teachers, and parents can foster this sense of autonomy by emphasizing choice whenever possible. Instead of saying, you need to do this, they might say, you have several options for how to approach this. Which would you prefer? Even when the task itself isn't optional, providing choices about how, when, or with whom to do it can significantly increase motivation. The psychology of choice also explains why micromanagement is so demotivating. When someone controls every aspect of your work, they strip away your sense of autonomy and with it, your intrinsic motivation. As you work to unlock your hidden potential, practice being mindful of the choices you have in every situation. Sit back, reflect, and consciously recognize your autonomy, even in constrained circumstances. Also, pay attention to how you talk about your activities, both to others and to yourself. Are you using language that emphasizes constraint, have to, must, should, or language that emphasizes choice, choose to, get to, want to? By shifting your focus to the choices you have and the autonomy you possess, you can transform even routine tasks into expressions of your own agency and intention. In the next chapter, we'll explore the fourth C of self-motivation: community and social connection. Chapter 5. Building a supportive community. We need each other. This simple truth captures the fourth essential element of self-motivation: community. Psychologists have consistently found that social support is critical for human flourishing. People who perceive a sense of relatedness, a sense of connection with others, feel more motivated and experience greater happiness. We enter this life dependent on others. As teenagers, we assert our independence, sometimes getting stuck in an "I'll do it myself" mindset. But true maturity involves recognizing our interdependence, understanding that we need each other and are stronger together than apart. The poem The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox beautifully illustrates how our independent mindset can lead to misunderstandings and missed connections. In the poem, a woman at an airport becomes increasingly angry at a man she believes is stealing her cookies, only to discover later that she had been taking his cookies all along. The poem asks us, where were you in this story? Were you thinking independently or interdependently? Were you quick to judge or open to connection? Our culture often celebrates independence with sayings like, "Nice guys finish last," or "You've got to blow your own horn." But this independent mindset can leave us isolated and limit our potential. Research shows that we achieve more, persist longer, and experience greater well-being when we have strong social connections and support. We need to have each other's backs. We need community. Building this sense of community begins with shifting from an independent to an interdependent mindset. It involves recognizing that seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, but of wisdom. It means understanding that our success is intertwined with the success of others. Leaders, teachers, and parents can foster this sense of community by creating environments where collaboration is valued over competition, where helping others is recognized and rewarded, and where vulnerability is seen as strength rather than weakness. As you work to unlock your hidden potential, consider the quality of your connections. Do you have people who support your growth? Do you contribute to the growth of others? Have you created a community that elevates everyone involved? Also, examine your mindset. Do you see asking for help as a last resort or as a natural part of the human experience? Do you celebrate the successes of others or see them as threats to your own status? Do you share your knowledge freely or hoard it for competitive advantage? By cultivating an interdependent mindset and building strong, supportive connections, you create the social foundation for sustained motivation and growth. In the next chapter, we'll explore a powerful technique for maintaining motivation when facing overwhelming challenges, breaking down complex tasks into manageable steps. Chapter 6. Breaking down challenges. Sometimes the biggest barrier to motivation isn't lack of ability, belief, or desire. It's feeling overwhelmed by the magnitude of the challenge. When a task seems too large or complex, we can experience what psychologists call learned helplessness, a state where we give up because we believe our efforts won't make a difference. Let me share a personal story that illustrates how breaking down challenges can overcome this barrier to motivation. When I was 10 years old, my parents arranged drum lessons for me. I was excited, envisioning myself playing like the great drummers I admired. My teacher would demonstrate techniques, and I'd practice diligently, feeling competent and motivated as I mastered each new skill. Then came the drum roll. My teacher demonstrated it, making it look effortless. But when I tried, I couldn't do it. Week after week, I practiced without success, growing increasingly frustrated and demoralized. Walking through my elementary school one day, I encountered the music teacher who had earlier invited me to join the band. When he asked how the drums were going, I admitted my struggle with the drum roll, saying, "I've tried and I've kind of given up." His response changed everything. "Scott, when you ever get overwhelmed, break it down." He asked if I could do a paradiddle, a simpler drum technique I had mastered. When I demonstrated it successfully, he pointed out that a drum roll is just 2 beats. Dad and mama, dad and mama. By breaking down the complex movement into simpler components I already knew, he made the impossible suddenly achievable. The next week, I proudly demonstrated my newly acquired drum roll to my astonished teacher. I even taught him how to teach the drum roll more effectively by breaking it down into its components. This experience taught me a powerful lesson about motivation. When we're overwhelmed, breaking down challenges into smaller, manageable steps can restore our sense of competence and reignite our drive. This principle applies to any complex challenge. Whether you're learning a new skill, tackling a major project, or making a significant life change, breaking it down into smaller steps makes the impossible feel possible. Leaders, teachers, and parents can apply this principle by helping others identify the next small step rather than focusing on the entire journey. Instead of saying, "Master this complex skill," they might say, "Let's focus first on understanding this one component." As you work to unlock your hidden potential, practice identifying the smallest next step whenever you feel overwhelmed. Ask yourself, what's one small action I can take today that would move me in the right direction? By breaking down challenges into manageable pieces, you maintain your sense of competence, your belief that "I can do this," which is essential for sustained motivation. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to shift your mindset from avoiding failure to seeking success, a transformation that can fundamentally change your relationship with motivation. Chapter 7. The Mindset Shift, from Failure Avoider to Success Seeker. On the first day of my introductory psychology class, I asked my 600 students a simple question. How many of you are here to avoid failure? About 80% raised their hands. I tell them, "Well, thanks for coming. I know you're motivated, but you're not happy campers. You probably told your friends, 'I've got to go to class. It's a requirement.' Not, 'I get to go to class. It's an opportunity.' You probably woke up to an alarm clock, not an opportunity clock." This distinction captures a fundamental difference in mindset that affects everything from our daily happiness to our long-term potential. Are we primarily motivated by avoiding failure or by seeking success? Failure avoiders are driven by fear. They do things because they have to, not because they want to. They focus on meeting minimum requirements rather than maximizing opportunities. They experience motivation as external pressure rather than internal drive. Success seekers, in contrast, are driven by possibility. They do things because they see value and opportunity in them. They focus on what they might gain rather than what they might lose. They experience motivation as an internal pull towards something desirable rather than an external push away from something unpleasant. The difference isn't just philosophical, it affects your experience of life on a daily basis. Failure avoiders feel stressed, burdened, and controlled. Success seekers feel engaged, energized, and autonomous. The good news is that this mindset is malleable. You can shift from being a failure avoider to a success seeker through conscious attention to how you frame situations and communicate with yourself. It starts with your language. Notice how you talk about your activities, both to others and in your own mind. Do you say, "I have to," or "I get to"? Do you describe tasks as requirements or as opportunities? Next, focus on what you want rather than what you want to avoid. Instead of thinking, "I need to prepare for this presentation so I don't embarrass myself," think, "I want to prepare for this presentation so I can share these valuable ideas effectively." Also, pay attention to how you respond to setbacks. Do you see them as failures that reflect on your worth, or as valuable feedback that helps you grow? Success seekers don't avoid failure. They reframe it as a necessary part of the journey towards success. Leaders, teachers, and parents can foster a success-seeking mindset by emphasizing opportunities rather than requirements, by celebrating effort and growth rather than just outcomes, and by modeling a positive relationship with challenges and setbacks. As you work to unlock your hidden potential, practice consciously shifting your focus from what you're trying to avoid to what you're trying to achieve. Ask yourself regularly, what am I moving toward, rather than what am I running from? By cultivating a success-seeking mindset, you transform motivation from something that feels like external pressure to something that feels like internal desire, a shift that dramatically increases both your enjoyment and your effectiveness. In our final chapter, we'll bring together all 4 C's of self-motivation: competence, consequences, choice, and community, and explore how they work together to unlock your hidden potential. Chapter 8: Integrating the 4 C's: competence, consequences, choice, and community. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored 4 powerful drivers of self-motivation, what I call the 4 C's. Competence: the belief that you can do what's being asked of you, that the approach will work, and that the outcome is worth the effort. Consequences: understanding that we're driven by what happens after our actions, and that positive consequences create more sustainable motivation than negative ones. Choice: recognizing that perceiving autonomy and options increases our internal drive and engagement. Community: acknowledging our interdependence and the crucial role that social connection plays in sustaining motivation. These 4 elements don't work in isolation. They interact and reinforce each other to create a powerful system of self-motivation that can unlock your hidden potential. When you feel competent, you're more likely to perceive choice because you see more options available to you. When you feel connected to a community, you're more likely to value positive consequences that benefit the group. When you perceive choice, you're more likely to take ownership of developing your competence. Let me share a final story that illustrates how these elements work together. Remember my childhood drum lessons? That experience integrated all 4 C's. Competence: I developed skills step by step, with each success building confidence for the next challenge. When I hit the roadblock of the drum roll, breaking it down restored my sense of competence. Consequences: I was motivated by positive consequences, the vision of having a complete drum set, the opportunity to join the band, and the satisfaction of mastering new techniques. Choice: my parents gave me the choice to take drum lessons, and I practiced voluntarily because I wanted to improve, not because I was forced to. Community: I had supportive teachers who believed in me, parents who invested in my development, and the prospect of joining a band, a musical community where I could belong and contribute. When all 4 elements were present, my motivation was at its peak. When one element faltered, like my sense of competence when struggling with the drum roll, my motivation suffered until that element was restored. The same principle applies to any area where you want to unlock your potential. Whether in your career, relationships, health, or personal growth, cultivating all 4 C's creates the conditions for sustainable self-motivation. Leaders, teachers, and parents can apply this integrated approach by ensuring that those they guide experience competence through appropriate challenges, are motivated by positive consequences, perceive meaningful choices, and feel connected to a supportive community. As you work to unlock your own hidden potential, regularly assess all 4 areas. Do you feel competent in your pursuits? If not, what additional skills, knowledge, or resources might you need? How could you break down challenges into more manageable steps? Are you motivated primarily by positive consequences you desire or negative ones you fear? How might you shift your focus more toward what you want to achieve? Do you perceive meaningful choice in your activities? How might you increase your sense of autonomy, even in constrained situations? Do you feel connected to a supportive community? Who has your back, and whose back do you have? How might you strengthen these connections? By attending to all 4 C's, you create a powerful ecosystem of motivation that can sustain you through challenges and help you achieve things you might once have thought impossible. Remember, unlocking your hidden potential isn't about dramatic transformations. It's about creating the conditions where your natural drive can flourish. It's about moving beyond boundaries imposed by others to discover what truly motivates you from within. As you apply these principles, you'll find yourself doing more than you have to, not because someone tells you to, but because you want to. And in that space, beyond boundaries, is where your hidden potential truly emerges. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now go forth and unlock the remarkable potential that has been within you all along.